Hi, my name's Jenny Glassmoyer, and I'm a manager of the not-for-profit outsourced service team at Kirkring Barbario and Company. Today, I'm just going to take a little bit of time to talk to you about our outsourced accounting services specific to nonprofits and share a little bit on our day-to-day activities and how we really service our clients. So first, I want to start off with really what is outsourced accounting services. We hear a lot about tax preparers, auditors, but the outsourced accounting services is really an area that has really picked up in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years. And right now, it is it's big and it's growing. And especially with the recent pandemic, clients have turned to lean on us even more. So it's definitely a career path that is a little different than more of the compliance work, and it has a lot of opportunities. And so really to start off with, what is outsourced accounting services? Outsourced accounting services is the typical terminology that many of our clients use. In the industry, you may also hear it used as CAS, which is Client Accounting Services, or CAAS, which I prefer, which is Client Accounting and Advisory Services. So our team at KB is really an extension and part of the finance team of our clients, where we monitor their business, we provide them guidance and support, and that's really invaluable in today's ever-changing world, especially for our small and medium-sized nonprofits. We are trusted advisors. We act as back office support, controllers, and even CFOs to our clients. We meet our clients' accounting needs. We identify cost-saving strategies and future financial opportunities. So specific to the nonprofit industry, we really leverage today's leading technology solutions to focus on changing the manual and paper-intensive steps that nonprofits typically complete into a paperless, web-based workflow and document management process. Our team helps nonprofits work more efficiently, get better information, and contribute to their success in very tangible ways. So we serve as trusted advisors and consultants. We help them with budgeting and forecast. We guide them on that, or we just take over the whole project and turn in the reports to them and review it with them. We really help in automating processes. We spend a lot of time creating real-time reports, dashboards, and key performance indicators. And our projects will be weekly, monthly, or even annually with our clients. And many times we have one-time projects. So about automating processes, we use technologies. We come in, we study their current systems, and we see how it can be improved. And we'll implement different technologies, and then we'll come back and teach their staff how to utilize it. So it's a one-time project. It's a lot of educating. It's a lot of relationship, and it makes the job really interesting. It's not the same thing each day because it's all based on what our client needs are at that time. So today I want to talk a little bit about technologies that we use and really the end reporting that we really share and work towards building for our clients. I think this sets us apart from other career opportunities in the accounting world. I think it's a growing industry and we're constantly learning and growing with our clients. So some of the technologies that we utilize are all focused on cloud-based systems. The importance here is that information is key. And while before it could take a month to close the books or even, a full quarter, now we need the information now. In today's culture, we're not as patient as we used to be, and decisions need to be made. And so they need updated information. So we utilize cloud-based technologies that allow for our clients to have access from their phone, their tablet, their computer, wherever they are, to keep the business day-to-day running and to know their key metrics and the information they're interested in. So the technologies we're currently using right now for our clients is Sage Intacct, which is a best-in-class financial reporting system. QuickBooks Online, because it's cloud-based QuickBooks, and that's usually the starting point for many small nonprofits and even some medium-sized nonprofits. Bill.com we use as an accounts payable and accounts receivable automation. We use Martis tools for budgeting and forecasting. Tally and Nexonia are technologies we use for credit card and employee reimbursements. And then internally, we use Flowcast to help automate the month-end closing and keep everything organized. And we know who's working on what the client owes us, so we can make sure that we are closing month ends timely and efficiently. In using those technologies, our end goal is to produce reports and useful reports. I attended a conference about the church industry. So the clients that I serve in the nonprofit are schools, including charter schools and faith-based organizations. So I went to a conference, and one of the presenters said, and this stuck with me, and I think it's helpful, is that the world does not need more accountants, we need more pastors. So please stop turning our pastors into accountants. So really it goes back to knowing who is your client and who at the client is your audience, and what information do they need. My background is in auditing. So I love GAAP financial statements. I love thick financial statement packets, all the financial statements, numbers tying out, and I would always start with that. But today, I had to do a shift. For the work that I do now, when I give these big, beautiful packets of a lot of financial statements, while they're crucial and useful and they serve a purpose, really for the success of the nonprofit, I need to step back and see, who am I giving this to? And how do they understand the information? Usually the people we're working with in the nonprofit world are not a bunch of accountants or CPAs, which is good because they have a passion for their mission. And one great thing about working for the nonprofits is that we get to be part of that. We get to really make a difference in our community by aligning ourselves with the team members of the nonprofit and helping them meet their strategic goals, help identify their strategic goals, and help them get from point A to point B. So in doing that, we want to share information that is useful. So in our field, it's important to know who the users are of the financial information. And a lot of times board members will get big financial statement packets, and it can tend to be overwhelming. So they're hesitant to ask questions. We want communication. We want questions asked and discussion happening. So the goal is to produce reports, and it could be a one-page document. It could be a graph, a picture, a visual, because everyone can see trend lines. Everyone can follow pie charts and see, hey, something's odd here. But they may not pick that up in a collection of financial statements. So today I want to show just some examples of dashboards and talk about dashboards and how we can share the information and really step back and look at the users and see how we can communicate the information so they understand it and it brings everyone to the table. We deal a lot with, as I mentioned before, program managers, grant writers. It's not just the executive director or a CFO or the board treasurer that we're working with that usually have some kind of accounting background or financial background. The other thing that's different about nonprofits before we get into dashboards is that many of them have board members that are very successful business people, and they understand financials. They understand for-profit financials. Nonprofit financials, as many of you probably know, are very different. And if you leave certain information out of a financial packet, you can make decisions that may not be the correct decisions on continuing a program or discontinuing a program. So here it's also important to step away from those typical GAAP financials to really show what's happening in an organization so they know that they're meeting their mission. Another thing that's different with nonprofits is that the focus not so much on the net income, the focus really is on the net assets, if it's a healthy nonprofit and it has built reserves. And the focus is also on outcome. Really, great, we made money, but are we meeting our mission? Are we making the difference in the community that we set out to do? So there's a lot of information that becomes part of our dashboards. So let me talk a little bit about dashboards. So what are they? They're snapshots of different aspects of an organization. They should be 1 page to 2 pages at most. And it's a combination of charts, graphs, and tables, and basically a visual presentation of information about organizational performance. The point is to aid and help users focus on what's important to them. So we will have different dashboards for different people. So some of the considerations when you're working on dashboards is to identify the audience and the purpose. For the nonprofits, the audience would be the executives and board of directors, also development leaders, those that are going out in the community to raise funds to support the programs, grant or program managers, and finance staff. And then also the purpose of the dashboards could be to act as management reports, grant or program data that needs to be turned in, compliance reports, and then our typical financial statement reports. So we like to use cloud-based systems, as I said before, because it's convenient access, up-to-date details 24/7. And people can access it from their phone, their tablet, or any computer. I would like to share my screen to show you some examples of some dashboards that we utilize and build for our clients. So here's a dashboard example from the program that I talked about, which was Sage Intacct. So this Sage Intacct is a replacement for QuickBooks. Many organizations will outgrow QuickBooks when they need to monitor information in different kinds of ways in a number of segments. So Sage Intacct is one that we use a lot for nonprofits. This is an example of a role-based dashboard. So before I talked about the audience. So one dashboard does not fit all. So this is a role-based dashboard that would be typical of like an executive director. It shows some of your fundraising expenses that compares to the prior year, program efficiencies, which is probably what they're working with their development team on, administrative expenses, our fundraising efficiencies, and average donation. Information like this is key to our clients because average donation, it's not taking information that you find just in the financial statements. This program can take statistical information. So when we receive the number of donors from the client, we post that in as a one-sided journal entry. And what's great about that is then the system knows for an average donation, take our total donations and divide it by our number of donors. And so this is automated. Without this program, we have to get that information, export the financial information to Excel, do the journal or do the formula in Excel, and then produce this. And then guess what? As soon as we're done, oh, we found a mistake, the numbers change, so now we have to redo our work. So what we focus on is efficiency in real, live, transparent information that's up to date. So here, when we correct a deposit or correct the number of donors, this KPI is automatically updated. And so this is the information, and this is what we strive for and how we help our clients. So yes, the day-to-day accounting is really important. It's the foundation for this. But what we try to do is automate a lot of that, so our time isn't spent putting in data entry or doing bookkeeping, but rather, once the information is in the most efficient way possible, we utilize these trends and dashboards like this to show the effect, and then we come in and we really become their trusted advisor and consultant because we spend our time here looking at the trends, monitoring what's happening, meeting with the clients and discussing, hey, we see that our expenses really went up compared to budget and even prior year. What's going on? And we bring things to light that they may miss. And they also have access to these dashboards, so then they get more involved with it. Here are our typical financial statement information, and then we can even do the typical financial statement summarized with red for, hey, it's caution, look at this, pay attention to me. And then we can also break out any categories by their sources. So this is an example of breaking out revenues by source. This is another dashboard example using Sage Intacct, and it's focusing on fundraising and development. So the development team has access to this so they can see how they're doing. And if they see that something doesn't make sense to them, they are now coming to the finance team and saying, this doesn't look right. What am I missing? You uncover if things were coded wrong, or sometimes they may forget about a transaction or something that they did a couple months ago, and they're like, oh yes. What's really important about bringing the different teams together is using the same information. Many times in nonprofits, you have a fundraiser and they're using their program and they're relying on their reports. And then you have the finance team or the accounting team using the general ledger system and pulling everything together and preparing their reports. Many times those reports don't equal, and many times no one notices that. So this brings everyone around the same information, so we know that the information is accurate. Sometimes the development details may be correct, but they received a pledge that accounting never got. Or sometimes accounting is more correct than development because they deposited money and they reconcile the bank account, and so it's included in these numbers, but development never received that information, and so that donor's record is incomplete. And so this brings everyone around the table. And so a lot of what we do, while yes, we need the technical skills of accounting, that's the foundation and base, but it's really about relationship. It's really about hand-holding with our clients at the various levels that they need. It's about being there when they need us. It's about bringing people to the table and sharing common goals and strategies for the nonprofit to meet its missions and outcomes. And that's what makes my job enjoyable. Here's an example of a dashboard from Sage Intact of outcomes. So I talked about the importance of outcomes. This is really what we want to get to. When we work with financial statements, great, we have the financial statements, but then it never gets us to this point. It never gets us to, well, what difference did it make in our community? This is an example of a healthcare client. Well, how many patients did we serve, and what were the number of office visits? And we have more office visits or less office visits? What's the number of our clinicians? What's our revenue per clinician? This could be on the number of meals served, right? Also, what's important to measure is, let's say the mission of a nonprofit is to help people transition from being homeless to having a home and a job. So we can have financial statements, but that's not going to show us how many people were in our program. Or better yet, how many people in our program are now no longer on the streets. And that's what we try to do, is to connect the financial information to their mission. Bill.com is the technology we use to automate accounts payable. So this just shows kind of a graph of when we come in to help our client, if they're doing a paper system, there's paper shuffling between desks, and it's a very slow and manual process. We introduced Bill.com, which is reduces that to 4 easy steps. So whether it's from the client or someone on our team, we're entering the bills. The approval system is all online that anyone can approve from their phone or computer or tablet. We can easily pay electronically, so it's no more printing checks. Our time is not spent on printing checks, stapling them, going and taking them to the file cabinet. That's how it used to be. Today's day and age, that doesn't work anymore. People are not all working and going to work, especially now. Look at everyone that's working remote that wouldn't consider working remote before. Look at how many of our clients in serving churches and schools, many of them were shut down. We weren't at the office to go pull information. Fortunately, for the clients that we've been serving at KB, they were already set up on these systems. So it didn't disrupt anything. Bills were still paid. People could approve from their home the bills. And also, it's not just the finance people approving. These are the program managers to be like, whoa, this isn't part of my budget. I'm not approving this, or I need more information. So it's all about streamlining the information, sharing it, and having it accessible from anywhere. Here's a dashboard example of Bill.com. So this is focused on the AP, the accounts payable process. So it helps the client because it shows them who's waiting for bills to be approved. How many do we need to pay? So if there's overdue, it's showing here what's due in the next 7 days. It kind of helps with cash crunch and cash flow. How many invoices do we have open? It gives personalized to-do lists. One of the things that is a challenge is to not live in your inbox. Email has become crazy. It's a great form of communication, but it's not always the best. So anything to do with accounts payable and an invoice, we use this system to note it so we always have it and we're not wasting time searching through emails to find out what did we talk about that invoice? Why did we approve it? What was the change order? It's all right there. And it provides unlimited document storage that we use. So all the contracts for the vendors go there. All the W-9s for us to issue 1099s, which we're working on right now this month. Everything's in one place that we can access from anywhere. And of course, it's a complete view of transactions. If vendors call, anyone who opens up the program that has rights to it can see, no, you were paid on this date, all at our fingertips. And what they really rely on us too is an audit trail. We want to make sure we have good segregation of duties. And so we create roles of who has rights to do what. So segregation of duties, especially in small nonprofits, are crucial. Especially in the church industry, it's crucial. Many times you have one person doing everything. So we can come in and help alleviate some of those controls and be a second set of eyes. So it's not all in control with one person. Martis Tools is the software that we use to help them with budgeting and forecasting. So this is great for planning. What's great for us is that it's pretty easy to set up and use and maintain. And it syncs with QuickBooks Online and Sage Intacct, the two accounting systems that we use. So what it does is it gets the budget preparation and monitoring out of Excel. We use Excel a lot, but we don't want to use it for everything. Many times if you have a lot of copies and you're sharing the file, you have duplicate files, it's very easy to have formula errors that don't get caught that have a material effect on your end result. So we want to use these programs where that's what's housing and storing all the information. Here's an example of a dashboard out of Martis Tools. So it syncs with the accounting system so we can see what our actual expenses are, our actual income compared to previous years and compared to budget. So we know, okay, this is how we were doing from last year. Sometimes that information is meaningful, but sometimes it's not. Look at 2020 compared to 2019. 2020 was an unusual year. So comparing to what happened in 2019 isn't really a fair approach. Looking at how it compares to the budget, an amended budget during 2020, then that means something. So for many of our clients, we had a budget at the beginning of 2020, but guess what? COVID-19 hit and that changed a lot of things. For the schools, they couldn't be open or have aftercare programs. So that really decreased revenue that would come in. Summer camps, it affected all that. So we needed to do what if strategies. And we were able to help our clients by looking at how did that affect your budget? If you don't have this revenue coming in and you're saving this much on payroll, where does that put you? So this program we utilized a lot because we can make copies in different scenarios to track, okay, if we can open in this month, this will be the effect. If we can bring in summer camp, this will be the effect. And then of course, we want to make it easier for everyone to come to the table in an easy way. So with Martis, you can have many users that go in the development manager, for example, they can look at just the fundraising portion. And it's just like working in Excel where they can see what happened in the prior year. They can say, it's going to probably be the same and keep that as a starting point for the budget going forward. And then they have control over their numbers. When we have the different users and program leaders part of creating the budget, then they're invested. Then they're interested in those dashboards. Then they're interested in the information because they were part of the decisions. If we have finance or the outsourced accounting team just do the budgets and hand it to them, they're not connected to it. They don't have any ownership into it. So this is a critical tool that brings all the players to the table. So what we try to do is really set up a system. We utilize mostly the Sage Intacct because it's best of class and it works with other systems. So Sage Intacct is like the core, the engine. We use Bill.com for the accounts payable. So we can have users in Bill.com and they don't need to be in the accounting system. We have Martis. So we have department leaders that have access to Martis. Beautiful thing about Martis is that they can actually drill down to information if we give them those rights. So instead of everyone having to call the finance department every time they have a question, this number doesn't look right, they have the ability now to drill down in a number and see exactly what makes it up. Tally for the credit cards. I didn't show screens of that, but that is great because employees can, when they use corporate credit cards, they take a picture with their phone, it pulls in their statement, it matches it, it goes through approval, and then it comes into the accounting program. So when there's a lot of employees that have corporate credit cards, many times closing the month is held up because we can't reconcile the credit card statements because we're chasing receipts. This automates that and it keeps it up day to day. And then with nonprofits, we have our CRM systems. Usually Donor Perfect, Salesforce is one. There's a whole lot of them, church planning software. There's a lot out there. That information can also sync into the financial system. So the financial system can utilize all of this information to produce those dashboards that I showed you. So I just wanted to end with benefits of client accounting services in the not-for-profit team. It's really great to be able to have the opportunity to be a trusted advisor where we're really part of our client's financial team. We have a lot of options. We work remotely. In fact, my team worked remotely before 2020. So we were basically set up already and prepared as much as we could be for the pandemic. We also do work at the client's office if they prefer that, but many of our nonprofits don't even have offices. And so we're a critical part of it where the information is in the cloud and not sitting in someone's home. Everyone has access to it. We make a difference by working with the nonprofits and help furthering their missions. Some of the stuff I showed was how we can relate the financial information to their mission and their outputs and their outcomes. And we have year-round work. We don't have the typical tax season. So our work is monthly and we have fluctuations within the month. Usually in about the middle of the month is when we're finalizing and sending out all the financial statements we prepare. But it's nice because it's not a years of work done in the first 3 months, which has been typical of the tax department. And so you have year-round work and it's interesting work and we work with a lot of great people and organizations. Thanks for letting me share a little bit about our client accounting services for the not-for-profit team.
The recording